I am not who I once was, and thank God I am not finished becoming who I will be. To rise, I had to let the ashes fall. To live, I had to let part of me die. That's the price of transformation. The old self was never meant to last. That is a truth many of us resist because it forces us to confront the inevitability of change. We often cling to the person we once were as though that version of ourselves is the only safe ground we have ever known. We hold on to who we used to be like a child clutching a worn-out blanket, frayed, tattered, and no longer able to provide warmth, yet still impossible to release. But life has a way of calling us forward, of whispering in the midnight hours that the person we were yesterday cannot carry the dreams of tomorrow. That version was never supposed to stay. It was only a beginning, a foundation, a seed planted so that something far greater could grow. When you look back at the younger version of yourself, do you see it clearly? The hesitations, the doubts, the compromises you made because you didn't yet know your own worth? That self was important, yes. That self was necessary because it carried you as far as it could. But that self is not the end of your story. It was only a draft of the masterpiece. It was only the clay before it met the sculptor's hands. The tragedy comes when we mistake that draft for the final work, when we cling so tightly to the past version of ourselves that we suffocate the becoming of our future self. Consider this. Everything in nature teaches us this principle. A seed is never meant to remain a seed. It is designed to break, to split apart, to lose its very form so that roots can sink and branches can rise. If the seed insists on staying whole, it will rot in the soil. The caterpillar is never meant to stay crawling. Its destiny is to cocoon, to dissolve into what looks like destruction, only to rise with wings. The tide is never meant to stand still. It is destined to rise and fall, again and again, reshaping the shore. Why then do we believe we, as living, breathing souls, are meant to remain the same? The truth is, we are not. The old self was never meant to last because it was only the preparation for the greater self that is yet to come. But oh, how we fight this truth. We try to hold on to the old habits, the old mindsets, the old identities, even when they no longer fit. We wear them like clothing 2 sizes too small, squeezing ourselves into them until we can barely breathe, all because they feel familiar. Familiarity can be comforting, but comfort can also be a cage. And if you are honest with yourself, you know that staying in the old self has cost you opportunities, peace, relationships, and growth. It has cost you the chance to become the person your soul has been whispering about in your quietest moments. The old self clings to fear. It says, what if I fail? What if I lose? What if they don't accept me? But the truth is, that self is too small for where you are going. The old self was built for survival. The new self is built for purpose. The old self was created from the limitations of your past environment. The new self is waiting to be created from the vastness of your possibility. One cannot live where the other has dominion. Sooner or later, you will have to decide which one you are feeding, your past or your future. Sometimes we confuse loyalty with stagnation. We think we owe it to our old self to stay the same. We think, this is who I am. This is just the way I've always been. But hear this. Just because something has always been does not mean it must always be. Your old self was brave in its own way. It carried you through storms, through heartbreak, through trials that nearly broke you. You survived because of it. But survival is not the same as living. You cannot keep honoring the old version of yourself by staying stuck in it. You honor it by saying thank you and moving forward. You honor it by carrying its lessons, but not its limits. You honor it by stepping boldly into the new. Breaking away from the old self does not mean rejecting it with shame. It means recognizing that it has done its part and now must step aside. Think of it like passing the baton in a relay race. The runner behind you carried the weight, pushed through exhaustion, kept the race alive. But now it is your turn. If they refuse to pass the baton, the whole team loses. In the same way, if you refuse to release the old self, the future you lose the chance to run their race. Transformation is not polite, and it is rarely painless. It asks you to shed identities you once cherished. It asks you to confront truths you once buried. It asks you to release attachments you once thought you could never live without. And yet, that very breaking is what allows the new self to emerge. If you have ever felt restless, if you have ever felt like your skin was too tight for your spirit, if you have ever felt like you are outgrowing the life around you, that is the signal. That is life itself reminding you that the old self has served its time. It is calling you to evolve. Do not be afraid to outgrow people, places, and versions of yourself that no longer serve the vision of your becoming. Do not let the guilt of leaving the old behind hold you hostage. Growth is not betrayal. Growth is your birthright. Everything about your existence, your body, your mind, your spirit, is designed for evolution. Your cells renew, your mind expands, your heart deepens. So why would your identity remain static? To resist growth is to resist the very laws of life. The old self was never meant to last. That truth is both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because it means you are not confined to who you used to be. Terrifying because it means you must step into the unknown. But let me tell you this, the unknown is not empty. It is full of possibility. It is full of untraveled roads and undiscovered strengths. It is the place where the new you is waiting, stretching, preparing to take form. So when you feel the pull to let go, when you sense the call to grow, do not fight it. Do not cling to the old self like a ghost of who you once were. Say thank you, say goodbye, and step into the new with trembling hands, but a courageous heart. For the old self was only ever a doorway. You were never meant to live there. You were meant to walk through. Breaking is not destruction, it is liberation. Too often we hear the word break and immediately associate it with loss, ruin, or devastation. We think of broken hearts, broken dreams, broken promises. We imagine shattered glass scattered on the floor, never able to return to its former state. But the truth, the deeper truth, is that breaking is not always the end. Sometimes breaking is the beginning of everything. Sometimes what looks like destruction is the only doorway to freedom. Think for a moment about the things in your life you once feared would break you. A relationship that fell apart, a job you lost, a friendship that ended in silence, a season when you thought your soul could not carry the weight one more day. At the time, it may have felt like death itself, like everything was collapsing, like you were left in pieces too scattered to be gathered. But here you are still standing. And when you look back, don't you see it now? Don't you recognize that it wasn't destruction after all? It was the breaking open of a new chapter. It was life carving away what no longer served you so that you could finally breathe. There is a difference between breaking down and breaking free. Breaking down feels like collapse, but breaking free feels like release. A seed does not grow until its shell is broken. The chick cannot live until it breaks through the shell that once protected it. Even the sky must break open with thunder and rain so that the earth can be renewed. Why then do we resist the breaking in our own lives? Why do we fear what was always meant to set us free? The reason is simple. Breaking hurts. It disrupts. It takes what is familiar and tears it away. We are creatures of habit, clinging to what we know even when it no longer feeds us. So when life comes with its hammer, when it shatters the illusion of safety we built, we cry out in fear and anger. But liberation does not come without disturbance. Freedom is not born in silence. It arrives with a shaking, with a cracking, with a breaking that refuses to be ignored. To break is to make space. It is to remove the barriers that keep you confined. When chains are broken, the prisoner steps into the sunlight. When silence is broken, the truth finally has a voice. When cycles are broken, generations are healed. Breaking is not the destruction of what you are, it is the end of what you are not. So many of us confuse identity with limitation. We think this is just who I am, I've always been this way. But that is not the truth. That is the old story you've repeated until it feels permanent. And life in its wisdom will often break those illusions for you. It will send you trials that feel unbearable, not to crush you, but to shake you free from a lie you were never meant to keep living. Breaking is the invitation to step out of a false cage and into your real power. Consider a piece of pottery. In some cultures, when pottery is broken, they do not throw it away. They fill the cracks with gold. The brokenness becomes the most beautiful part of the piece, not its shame. The breaking does not lessen its worth, it amplifies it. In the same way, your breaking moments are not your ruin. They are the places where your strength gleams the brightest. They are the openings through which light can enter your life. Sometimes breaking happens by choice, and sometimes it happens by force. There are moments when you know you must leave a toxic environment, end an unhealthy pattern, or walk away from the identity that no longer fits you. That breaking is a declaration, I will not live in this prison any longer. Other times, breaking happens when life interrupts our plans with no warning. A loss, an illness, a betrayal, things we never asked for, things we never prepared for. And yet, even in those moments, breaking can be liberation. Because when everything you leaned on is stripped away, you discover you are stronger than the crutches you once thought you needed. You discover the power that was inside you all along. Do not mistake the noise of breaking for the silence of ending. They are not the same. Breaking is loud, messy, disruptive. It will shake you to your core. But endings are quiet, final, unmoving. If you are breaking, you are not finished. You are transitioning. You are in the in-between place where the old form is dissolving and the new form has not yet emerged. It is uncomfortable, yes. It feels uncertain, yes. But it is not destruction. It is creation in disguise. Liberation always costs something. To be free, you must give up what kept you bound. To step forward, you must release what held you back. Breaking is the price of freedom. And though the price is high, the reward is immeasurable. Freedom means you can breathe again. Freedom means you can stand in your truth without apology. Freedom means you can live a life that belongs to you and not to the expectations that others have written for you. When you begin to see breaking through this lens, you stop fearing it. You start to embrace it. You begin to recognize that every time your heart has been broken, it has been stretched to love deeper. Every time your plan has been broken, it has redirected you to something greater. Every time your image of yourself has been broken, it has revealed a strength you didn't know you had. You see that life has not been destroying you. It has been freeing you, piece by piece, from the smallness of who you once believed you were. Breaking is not destruction. It is liberation. It is the moment the walls fall and the horizon becomes visible. It is the moment the shell cracks and new life breathes. It is the moment the chains snap and the captive walks free. Do not curse your breaking. Do not despise it. Honor it. Because it is in the breaking that you finally learn the truth. You were never broken at all. You were only being set free. The pain of shattering becomes the birthplace of strength. Nobody wants to break. Nobody wakes up asking for the sharp edges of life to cut through their comfort. We want smooth paths, gentle hands, and easy answers. Yet life, in its raw honesty, gives us moments that shatter us, moments that leave us trembling on the floor, wondering if we will ever stand again. And in those moments, when our hearts are fractured, when our plans lie in ruins, when our certainty is gone, we discover something we never knew lived within us. We discover strength. Shattering feels unbearable while you are in it. It feels like you are losing everything. You look at the pieces of your life scattered around you and think, how could anything good come from this? It feels final. It feels cruel. It feels like the end of everything you knew. But the truth, the deeper truth, is that shattering is not the end. It is the threshold. It is the moment where what was can no longer be, and what will be is fighting to be born. Pain is not just pain. Pain is the pressure that transforms. Pain is the fire that refines. Pain is the signal that you are being stretched into a new dimension of yourself. Strength is not forged in the easy times. It is not built when life is gentle. Strength is born in fire. Strength is birthed in the nights when sleep won't come and tears won't stop. Strength is carved out of the seasons when you think you cannot take another step, but somehow, some way, you do. Strength grows in the silence after betrayal, in the rebuilding after loss, in the healing after heartbreak. You cannot know the depth of your strength until something shatters you enough to call it forth. Think of glass. It looks fragile until it is tested. When it breaks, it cuts, it hurts, it scatters. But consider the diamond, hard, unbreakable, resilient. What makes the difference between fragile glass and enduring diamond? Pressure, heat, time. The very things that shatter one are the things that form the other. And so it is with you. Without the shattering, you remain fragile. But with it, with the pressure and the fire, you become unbreakable in ways you never imagined. We resist shattering because it feels like loss. And yes, it is loss, but it is also invitation. When the old structures of your life collapse, it makes room for something new. When the old version of you can no longer survive, it makes space for a stronger self to emerge. You cannot carry the strength of tomorrow with the frame of yesterday. Something has to give. Something has to break. You may not realize it while you are in the storm, but the very pain you think will destroy you is the pain that is stretching you into someone who can endure more, love more, rise higher, and live freer. It is in the breaking that resilience is written into your bones. It is in the shattering that courage is engraved into your spirit. It is in the collapse that the foundation for your new life is laid. Every scar you carry is proof of this truth. You survived what you thought would destroy you. You endured nights you thought would never end. You held on when every part of you wanted to let go. And here you are. The scar does not mean you are weak. The scar is the evidence of your strength. It is the reminder that you shattered once, but you did not remain broken. You rose, you healed, you grew. Strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is the ability to move through pain, to carry it, to learn from it, and to let it shape you without allowing it to define you. Too often we think strength means never falling apart, never crying, never feeling weak. But true strength is not about denying your humanity. True strength is about embracing it. It is about admitting that you are shattered, yet still choosing to rebuild. It is about knowing that you are broken open, yet still daring to believe in wholeness again. The world will tell you that breaking means you are finished, but life proves otherwise. Life shows us that forests burn, only to rise green again. Volcanoes erupt, only to create new land. Stars explode, only to scatter light across galaxies. Creation itself tells us this story. Shattering is not the end, it is the womb of new beginnings. Your pain is not purposeless, it is the soil in which your strength is planted. When you stand in the aftermath of your shattering, you may feel small, lost, and fragile. But give yourself time, give yourself grace. For strength does not reveal itself overnight. It grows quietly, like roots under the soil. It grows each time you take a breath you thought you couldn't take. It grows each time you stand up when lying down felt easier. It grows each time you say, "I will not quit," even when your heart is heavy and your body is weary. And one day, you will look back and realize that the person who thought they could not survive has become the person who can survive anything. Do not despise the shattering. Do not curse the pain. It is rewriting you. It is shaping you. It is building a version of you that fear cannot conquer, that failure cannot silence, that doubt cannot chain. You may not see it now, but the very moment you feel like you are breaking apart is the moment you are being put together differently, stronger, wiser, braver. The pain of shattering is not the evidence of your end. It is the birthplace of your strength. And though the breaking may feel unbearable, trust this. What rises from the ashes will be more powerful than whatever stood before. Your breaking is your becoming, your pain is your preparation, and your strength is already on the way. You cannot carry yesterday into tomorrow. Try as you might, it will not fit. The weight of what was will always slow down the promise of what can be. Too many of us walk into each new day dragging behind us the burdens of the last, old regrets, old mistakes, old identities, old voices that told us we weren't enough. We wake up with new mercy, new breath, new possibility, but before the sun has even fully risen, we have already tied ourselves back to yesterday. And then we wonder why we feel so heavy. We wonder why joy feels fleeting. We wonder why peace never lingers long. It is because you cannot step into tomorrow if you refuse to set yesterday down. The truth is, yesterday has already done its work. Yesterday's lessons have already been written on your heart. Yesterday's wounds have already carved their stories into your spirit. Yesterday's failures have already offered their wisdom, whether you have accepted it yet or not. But yesterday is not supposed to be a permanent dwelling place. It was a classroom, not a home. It was a stepping stone, not a destination. Too often, though, we turn our past into a prison. We replay old conversations, rehearse old losses, reimagine what could have been. We build our present around ghosts that no longer exist, and in doing so, we deny ourselves the life that is calling us now. Think about a traveler who insists on carrying every bag from every journey they've ever taken. Their shoulders bend, their steps slow, their energy is drained. They cannot run, they cannot climb, they cannot dance. Not because they lack ability, but because they are carrying too much. That is what happens when you carry yesterday into tomorrow. Your spirit bends under the weight. Your vision grows narrow. Your pace is stifled. And all the while, tomorrow waits, empty, open, full of possibility, asking only that you arrive unchained. We tell ourselves stories that keep us bound. I failed before, so I will fail again. They left me once, so I will always be abandoned. I made mistakes yesterday, so I am unworthy today. But those are lies stitched together by memory and fear. Yesterday's truth does not dictate tomorrow's destiny. The fact that you stumbled yesterday does not mean you cannot soar tomorrow. The fact that you cried yesterday does not mean you cannot laugh tomorrow. The fact that you broke yesterday does not mean you cannot shine tomorrow. Life is always moving forward. It is only us who keep dragging the past along, as if it were meant to be eternal. Letting go of yesterday is not easy, though. Pain lingers, disappointment echoes, shame digs its claws deep into the soul. We want to move on, but part of us clings to the familiar, even when the familiar has wounded us. That is why forgiveness matters. Not only forgiveness of others, but forgiveness of ourselves. Forgiveness is how you cut the rope tying you to yesterday's weight. It does not mean forgetting. It does not mean excusing. It means releasing yourself from the endless repetition of a story that has already ended. When you forgive, you declare that yesterday will not own today and it will not steal tomorrow. Look at nature, and it teaches this same lesson. The tree does not cling to last season's leaves. It releases them so that new ones may grow. The river does not hold on to yesterday's water. It keeps flowing, always making space for more. Even the sun itself does not stay in yesterday's sky. It rises fresh every morning, greeting the world anew. If creation itself refuses to carry yesterday, why should you? Why should you, who were made with the same capacity for renewal, be any different? Sometimes we hold on to yesterday because we think it protects us. We tell ourselves, if I remember the pain, I can avoid it. If I carry the lesson like a wound, I won't be hurt again. But what we do not realize is that carrying yesterday's pain only ensures that we bleed into tomorrow. The wound never gets a chance to close because we keep reopening it. Healing requires release. Growth requires release. Transformation requires release. To carry yesterday is to sabotage your own tomorrow. It is also tempting to cling to yesterday's victories, yesterday's successes, yesterday's glory days. We replay them in our minds as proof that we once mattered, that we once achieved, that we once shined. But even the best of yesterday cannot sustain you today. Yesterday's bread will not feed you. Yesterday's breath will not keep you alive. Yesterday's light cannot guide you forward. Celebrate it, yes. Remember it with gratitude, yes. But do not try to live there. The future does not wait at the shrine of the past. It waits on the road ahead. Every morning, life gives us a gift, the chance to begin again. A fresh canvas, a blank page, a new song. The tragedy is that too many of us spend the whole day painting yesterday's picture on today's canvas, writing yesterday's story on today's page, replaying yesterday's song in today's silence. And when the day ends, we wonder why nothing changed. The answer is simple. We carried yesterday with us instead of stepping fully into today. You cannot carry yesterday into tomorrow. It is too heavy. It is too crowded. Tomorrow has its own burdens, its own blessings, its own surprises, its own lessons. If you are weighed down by yesterday, you will not have the strength to embrace them. But if you set it down, if you lay yesterday gently at the feet of time and walk forward empty-handed, you will finally be free to grasp what tomorrow is offering. Freedom does not come from holding tighter, it comes from letting go. And tomorrow belongs not to those who drag the past, but to those who dare to release it. The new self requires courage, not permission. Too many of us are waiting for someone to tell us it is time. We wait for approval. We wait for validation. We wait for applause. We wait for the nod that says, yes, you are ready now. Yes, you can become who you were born to be. But if you keep waiting for permission, you will wait your entire life. The world is not in the business of handing out freedom slips. The world is not lining up to encourage you to step out of the familiar and into your destiny. The new self does not need a signature from anyone else. The new self is birthed the moment you choose courage over fear, the moment you decide that your life is too valuable to remain caged by the opinions of others. Courage is the passport to transformation. Without it, you will stay exactly where you are, replaying the same patterns, wearing the same identities, speaking the same excuses. Courage is what whispers to you in the stillness of night, you were meant for more. Courage is what nudges you to take the step even when your legs shake. Courage is what allows you to rise even when doubt shouts louder than your faith. It is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward in spite of fear. And if you are serious about meeting your new self, you must decide to walk with courage, not wait for permission. Permission seeking is a trap that looks like humility, but is actually fear. It says, I'll change when they accept me. I'll grow when they celebrate me. I'll transform when everyone understands. But what if they never understand? What if they never cheer? What if they never offer you the validation you crave? Does that mean you will stay locked in your old self forever? The truth is, some people benefit from you staying the same. Your growth unsettles them. Your transformation reminds them of their own stagnation. They will not hand you permission slips because your evolution challenges their comfort. That is why courage matters, because it is the fire that carries you forward even when no one claps for you. Think about the great shifts in your life. Did they come because someone handed you permission, or did they come because something inside of you rose up and said, enough, I cannot keep living like this? The job you left, the unhealthy relationship you walked away from, the risk you took that changed everything. All of it began not with permission, but with courage. It began when you listened to the quiet voice inside that told you there was more, even when the loud voices outside told you to stay. Courage requires that you disappoint people. Courage requires that you walk roads others will not understand. Courage requires that you embrace solitude when the crowd no longer fits you. That is why it is so rare. Most people would rather stay small and accepted than step into their full power and risk being misunderstood. But the cost of that choice is heavy. To stay in the old self for the sake of others' comfort is to betray the very reason you were born. The new self will never be formed if you are waiting for consensus. Consensus is built on yesterday's rules. Consensus is tied to the expectations of those who have not lived your story and will never carry your dreams. You are the only one who knows the calling inside you. You are the only one who hears the whisper in your spirit. You are the only one who feels the fire in your bones. And if you do not rise with courage, you will silence the very reason you exist. The truth is, no one ever feels ready. No one wakes up one day completely fearless, fully prepared, and perfectly confident to step into the new. Readiness is not the starting point, it is the result of courage. You build readiness along the way. You grow confidence in the journey. You learn as you go. The people you admire were not born fearless. They simply refused to let fear be the driver. They moved trembling. They acted while uncertain. They chose courage in the face of permission withheld, and because of that, they met a version of themselves the world could no longer ignore. Your new self is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for your decision. It is waiting for you to silence the critics in your head and the doubters in your life. It is waiting for you to declare, I do not need anyone to agree with me to become me. It is waiting for you to take that first step, even if it is small, even if it is unseen, even if it is shaky. Because once you take it, once you move, once you dare, everything begins to shift. Courage is contagious. When you choose it, you give others permission, not by words, but by example. You show them that it is possible to change. You show them that it is possible to grow. You show them that it is possible to rise even when fear whispers, stay. Your courage can light a fire in someone else's darkness, But it begins with you. It begins with the decision to live unshackled by approval. You do not need the world's permission to live. You do not need the world's permission to heal. You do not need the world's permission to grow. You only need courage. Courage to step out of the shadow of the old self. Courage to walk even when you are not sure of the path. Courage to keep becoming even when no one else understands. Courage to say, I am not asking anymore. I am choosing. The new self requires courage, not permission. And the moment you embrace that truth, you will find that the world you once thought was locked has been open all along. The door is not barred. The gate is not chained. The only key you ever needed was the courage to walk through. Forging means fire, and fire transforms. Nothing new is made without heat. Nothing strong is formed without pressure. Nothing beautiful is created without a breaking and a burning away of what no longer serves. If you want the new you, you must be willing to step into the fire. You must allow the flames to touch you, not to destroy you, but to purify you, to shape you, to make you into something greater than you were before. Transformation is never a gentle process. It is a fiery one. Think of metal in the hands of a blacksmith. Raw iron on its own is rigid and unyielding. It cannot be shaped into a sword, a tool, or an ornament without fire. The blacksmith places it into the furnace, and only when it glows red hot does it become malleable. Only then can it be stretched, bent, hammered, and refined into strength and purpose. The fire is not the enemy, it is the birthplace of its power. So it is with you. You cannot become who you are meant to be without walking through your own furnace. The fires of life are not accidents. They are assignments. Every hardship, every disappointment, every loss, every trial that burns you, it is not meant to consume you, but to prepare you. You may feel scorched. You may feel weary. You may feel stripped of what you once clung to, but the truth is that fire is creating space for the new you to emerge. What you think is breaking you is actually forging you. The flames that frighten you are the very forces shaping you. But here lies the challenge. We often run from the fire. We want transformation without trial. We want strength without struggle. We want wisdom without wounds. Yet, it does not work that way. You cannot have the glow without the burn. You cannot have the refinement without the furnace. You cannot walk in the fullness of your destiny without passing through the very flames that test you. Fire is the ancient language of transformation. It burns away the unnecessary. It exposes what is weak, and it strengthens what is pure. Consider your own life. The moments that transformed you most were never the easy ones. They were the nights you cried yourself to sleep but woke up determined to rise again. They were the days when you lost what you thought you couldn't live without, only to discover a deeper strength inside. They were the seasons where you were tested, where you thought the fire would consume you, but instead, it consumed the fear, the doubt, the illusions you had carried. Those fires forged a resilience in you that comfort could never give. Fire is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also honest. It does not allow you to pretend. It reveals what you are made of. In the fire, masks melt, illusions fade, excuses burn. What remains is the truth of who you are. That truth may scare you at first, because it is raw and real, but it is also where your strength lives. The fire does not lie. It will strip away what cannot withstand the heat, leaving behind only what is strong enough to carry you forward. Many fear fire because it feels like loss. It feels like surrender. But what if you are not losing at all? What if the fire is not taking from you but giving to you? What if every flame is burning away only the pieces of you that were never meant to survive? What if it is preparing you for a version of yourself you could not even imagine while clinging to the old? Transformation is not about holding on. It is about letting the flames carry away what you no longer need. Do not despise the fire that finds you. Do not curse the season of heat that feels too heavy. You may not see it now, but the very thing that seems to break you may be the force that builds you. The new you cannot be formed in comfort. It cannot be born in the shallow waters of safety. It is birthed in the fire of trials, the heat of challenges, the blaze of situations that demand you rise higher than you thought you could. That is where strength is forged. And let me tell you something. Fire transforms in ways you do not expect. Sometimes it softens you, making you more compassionate, more tender, more human. Sometimes it hardens you in the best way, giving you resilience that no storm can shake. Sometimes it reshapes your direction entirely, pointing you to paths you would never have walked without the heat forcing you forward. But in every case, fire changes you. You will not step out the same way you stepped in. That is the purpose. That is the gift. The new self is not a polished version of the old. It is a forged version. It is not just better dressed, it is reborn. The fire burns away the smallness, the excuses, the fear, the need for validation, the attachments to yesterday, and what emerges is something stronger, freer, bolder, truer. The fire does not diminish you, it reveals you. So do not fear the seasons that feel like burning. Do not hide from the days that scorch your spirit. Stand in them, breathe through them, and trust that the fire is working in ways your eyes cannot yet see. Because on the other side of fire is always transformation. And when you walk through it, you will look at yourself in the mirror and barely recognize the person staring back, not because you are lost, but because you are finally found. Forging means fire, and fire transforms. And when you dare to endure it, you step into the unshakable truth that the fire was never your enemy. It was your teacher, your purifier, your maker. The becoming never ends. Too often we speak of transformation as if it is a finish line, as if one day you will arrive at your final self, polished, complete, unshakable. But life does not work that way. You are not a finished product. You are a living story. Every season writes a new chapter. Every trial etches a new line. Every triumph reveals a new layer. The becoming never ends. Because life never stops teaching, never stops stretching, never stops calling you into more. If you believe there is a moment when you will finally be done with growth, you will miss the beauty of the journey. The truth is, the moment you stop becoming is the moment you start dying inside. To be alive is to be in motion. To be alive is to be in process. To be alive is to wake up each day with the invitation to rise higher than yesterday. The new self you forged yesterday will not be enough for tomorrow. The wisdom you carried last year will not be sufficient for the storms yet to come. You must keep becoming again and again, deeper and deeper, truer and truer. Think of a tree. It does not stop growing after reaching a certain height. Season after season, it stretches its roots deeper and its branches wider. Some seasons bring blossoms, others bring barrenness, others bring storms that break limbs and strip leaves. Yet through it all, the tree keeps becoming. It is never finished, never final, never stagnant. Its very life is proof that growth is continuous. And so it is with you. Your becoming will look different in every season, but it must never stop. Many people grow weary because they thought transformation was a single event. They thought healing was a one-time process. They thought courage was something you choose once. But no, healing is revisited. Courage must be chosen daily. Growth is a lifelong task. Every time you shed an old layer, every time you release an old belief, every time you outgrow a place you once thought you'd never leave, you step into another dimension of your becoming. You are not meant to arrive, you are meant to evolve. Becoming is not always grand or visible. Sometimes it is silent. Sometimes it looks like patience when you would have chosen anger. Sometimes it looks like saying no when you once said yes too easily. Sometimes it looks like resting when you used to run yourself empty. Becoming often shows itself in the smallest decisions, the quiet shifts, the subtle choices that reveal you are no longer who you once were. And then over time, you look back and realize that piece by piece, you have been remade. There is a danger in believing you have fully arrived. That belief breeds pride, stagnation, and blindness. The moment you declare, "I am finished," you close yourself off to the lessons life still has to give you. You rob yourself of the wisdom waiting in tomorrow's trials. You miss the chance to grow deeper roots and stronger wings. But if you hold on to the truth that becoming never ends, then every day is an opportunity to be reborn in some way. Every challenge becomes a teacher. Every season becomes holy ground. Some seasons of becoming will feel like joy, and others will feel like grief. You will celebrate new parts of yourself, and you will mourn the versions of you that you had to leave behind. Both are sacred. Both are necessary. To become is to constantly hold both birth and death in your hands, the death of the old and the birth of the new. And while it may feel exhausting at times, it is also the most powerful evidence that you are still alive, still moving, still open to the endless possibilities of your own soul. Do not measure your life by how much you have achieved, but by how deeply you have become. Achievements fade, titles pass, possessions scatter, but the becoming of your spirit is eternal. It cannot be taken from you. It cannot be undone. Every lesson you have learned, every fire you have endured, every risk you have taken has built a self that is stronger, wiser, freer than the one before. That is your true wealth, the continuous shaping of who you are. The becoming never ends because you are not here just to exist. You are here to unfold. You are here to discover parts of yourself you do not yet know. You are here to walk into futures you cannot yet imagine. You are here to rise again and again from the ashes of what was into the light of what can be. And just when you think you have reached the fullness of yourself, life will surprise you with another season of becoming, another layer of strength, another depth of love, another height of courage. There is a temptation to resist the ongoing nature of becoming. We want stability, certainty, permanence, but life is too vast to be reduced to finality. You were not born to stay the same. You were born to shift, to expand, to stretch into the ever-unfolding truth of your being. That does not mean you will lose yourself. It means you will keep finding yourself again and again in ways you could never have dreamed. So do not fear the endless nature of becoming. Embrace it. It is what keeps you alive, what keeps you fresh, what keeps you open. Each time you evolve, you meet a version of yourself that was waiting in the shadows of time, patient for your arrival. Each time you grow, you unlock gifts that only reveal themselves in that season. Each time you change, you step closer to the fullness of your purpose. The becoming never ends, and that is not a burden. It is a blessing, for it means you are never trapped, never final, never without possibility. It means tomorrow can hold a better you than today. It means your story is still being written. It means there is always more to rise into, more to discover, more to embody. So tonight, I declare without shame, I had to break the old me to forge the new me. And I will keep breaking, keep forging, keep becoming until the day the earth itself calls me home. Do not fear your breaking. It is the beginning of your becoming. And when you rise, when you finally see yourself clothed in the light of your own courage, you will know the truth. You were never breaking. You were always being born.